Are you bored having to play the same stage to farm your precious material over and over and over and over again? If you say yes to that question, then you should be excited for Integrated Strategies. Part 2 Electric Boogaloo. Integrated Strategies is the Arknights version of a roguelike game mode, and thanks to the success of IS-1, this game mode will become permanent. In this video, I have some recommendations on operators in each rarity that you should bring throughout your run in IS-2. Please take my advice with a grain of salt, because the operators you choose will depend on your playing style and your own roster. If you'd like to share your opinions regarding the operators that performs well in IS-2, share it in the comments below and I'll give it a look. With that being said, I think I should briefly explain what Integrated Strategies is all about, to all the new players and as a refresher for the veterans. As I previously mentioned, IS is a roguelike game mode. In other words, the stages, operators, and even the items in the store are randomized. At the start of the run, you will choose a squad buff, which is sort of like a starting advantage that affects your entire squad. Then you will choose a set of recruitment tickets, where each set consists of 3 recruitment tickets of 3 different classes, and you can recruit any operators that you own within that class. But recruitments cost hope. The higher the rarity, the more it will cost you. Your operators are also capped at Elite 1 and their max level, and to promote them to Elite 2, you have to recruit them again for the second time. During your exploration part, you will encounter various different nodes, which consist of 3 different combat nodes, 3 random event nodes, and 2 safe nodes, which are the shop and the safe house. After clearing one of the 3 combat nodes, you will receive rewards including Iridium ingots, which you can spend at the shop in exchange for recruitment tickets, collectibles, and other items. During your run, you might also encounter one of the following mechanics. Number 1 is Repertoire, which is a temporary buff that only affects the current floor and can only be used one at a time. Number 2 is a Tactical Prop, which is an item that can help you in battle. It can be an item that helps your operator to generate SP faster, or a completely separate item that can deal damage to the enemy. You can only bring one tactical prop at a time, so if you want to use another one, you have to switch. Number 3 is Illusion, which is a side effect that could trigger when entering a new floor. This side effect will most likely be a negative one, for example blindness, which means you can't see the node ahead of you. Number 4 is Ownerless Wealth, which is a treasure chest that grants you extra rewards as long as you keep the enemy's filthy hands away from it. That is the gist of IS-2, which for the most part is all about adapting your squad on the fly to suit your situation. Every time you fail a run, you can always try again with a different team composition and usually with a buff that can help you progress further. But the most important thing about IS-2 is your operators, and you'll be nothing without them. So before I move on to the operator recommendation, I invite you to hit the like button because it's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it helps the video. For this next part, I will share which operators are worth recruiting to be used in IS-2. I will start with the 3-star operators because they are the ones that will carry you early on, and these guys cost no hope to recruit. First is Ansel. If you have not built Ansel yet, I highly suggest you do that first. His ability to extend his range is really useful because not only does it cover a large area, you will most likely do not need to bring another medic because of it, saving you a spot for a different operator. Ansel's talent also gives him 18% chance of healing one extra operator, which is always great. It may not seem that much, but it's better than nothing. Number 2 is Cruz. Everyone knows she's undoubtedly one of the best snipers in the early game. Heck, I've seen some veterans still use her in the late game content. Cruz is really powerful for someone in her rarity. Think about it, 2 hits dealing 140% damage each. That's 280% of total damage. Considering the enemies on the first floor are pretty weak, she could wipe them out very easily, and she'll be your main anti-air sniper for a few rounds until you find a slightly better sniper after that. Number 3 is Spot and Cardigan. These guys are great for holding lanes and they are self-sufficient thanks to their healing abilities. In addition to that, healing defenders helps relieve pressure from your medics, and they could be some sort of an extension to them. They may not be able to kill more tanky enemies, but they are strong enough to hold them for your DPS operator to take care of that problem. I do want to do a quick honorable mention to Yato if she's even possible to be recruited, as she is a great fast redeploy replacement until you get an actual fast redeploy operator. 4-star operators cost 2 hopes to recruit. And these guys were my favorites when I used them back in IS-1 because they offer great utility for a cheap price both in recruitment and in deploying. And they will most likely be the backbone of your squad. The first 4-star operator and one of my favorites is Cutter. Her skills with insane multiplier allows her to take down even the tankiest enemies, and she can do that pretty consistently thanks to her talent that grants her an extra SP when attacking. Her skills are quite the game changer at mastery levels, so you might want to consider investing in it. Speaking of Arknights, I also recommend Arene. He's a great multi-purpose operator, able to attack multiple targets in a large area. If you like a decent anti-air sniper, Arene will take on that role for as long as you need until you find a decent anti-air sniper. Next is our beloved Sushi Boy. There are a lot of high praises surrounding Jay for being a great fast redeploy that can hold his ground and also very cheap to recruit. The combination of high damage and healing makes Jay one of the best operators for soloing lanes. Not to mention his silence ability is great against bosses or other enemies that requires special attention. I highly recommend that you consider investing in him. Just Elite 1 and max level is enough. Next up is Click. Click is a cheap and reliable 4-star caster, as demonstrated by many doctors who enjoy low rarity strategy, including Kyostin himself. Her skill 2 is a great asset to your team because it's basically a boss killer. It locks onto a target and keeps attacking them until they're dead or the skill is over. Plus, it has a bonus of stunning the enemies, which is suitable to use against the Duck Lord or the Yakuza Bear. In addition to that, she doesn't take much DP to deploy, which is why you should bring her with you. Now, let's move on to the 5 stars. It's a little harder to recommend operators in the 5 and 6 stars range, since not many players have obtained all 5 and 6 star operators. But don't be discouraged. If you don't have the operators I mentioned, you don't have the obligation to roll for them. Just use whatever you have on hand and it will still work well. If you do have them, put them to good use. With that being said, in the 5-star category you can find the Wandering Medics. These medics are great against elemental damage because it's the one type of damage that's very abundant in IS-2. For reference, there are 2 bosses that can do elemental damage, namely Nervous Impairment. Either Honeyberry or Mulberry works, but if you have neither of them, just get Honeyberry from the certificate store. It's much easier than rolling for Mulberry from the banner. And with how big the range these medics are, just bringing one of them is enough. If you want to bring 2, maybe the other one should be either AoE medic or a single target medic. My second 5-star recommendation is Project Red. Her skill 1 gives her a momentary attack buff and dodge. You can take advantage of this skill by using her to chip away damages at dangerous enemies. Her damage gets amplified further if you have her module equipped. She may as well kill her target. Aside from that, she also works well as a stun bomb for larger groups of enemies or if you need an urgent crowd control, especially when you're fighting the mini-bosses. The 6-star category consists of operators with amazing versatility. Of course, you have the meta operators who can stand on their own and dish out a lot of damage, and they're pretty much self-sufficient. These guys are usually the type that you deploy and forget. However, I picked 2 individuals who will be a great addition to your team. First is Zarya. Aside from being a really strong defender, she can also act as an extension to your medic. She's very tanky and her healing is very consistent even in the absence of a medic. If you play your cards right, you might be able to survive without even needing a medic. Her skill 1 is one of her best skills because she does not waste it on allies with high HP, and the best thing is, it can stack, which means she can heal much faster. This is usually her preferred skill for that reason. Meanwhile, skill 2 covers a larger area and is great at countering poison mist. And finally, skill 3 is a powerful art snook that's great against bosses. If you have the opportunity of recruiting a 6-star operator, you should prioritize getting Zarya. That way, your team will have a better survivability in future stages. The second 6-star operator I recommend is Bagpipe. Her talent makes vanguards 10 times better because your vanguards can generate DP much faster thanks to her talent. And that means you can set up your defenses early on and much quicker. For this talent to take effect, Bagpipe doesn't even need to be deployed. And when she is deployed, you have the chance to leave her there to act as an additional ground DPS, or my personal favorite, have her take the heli drop role with her insane skill 3 burst damage. Choose whichever one suits your needs. At the end of the day, integrated strategies is all about adapting on the fly. The enjoyment comes from pushing the limits of your operators and coming up with solutions that may seem unconventional to you. This is also an opportunity to try out operators that you have never tried before and they've just been collecting dust at the end of your roster. This is your time to discover new ways to use them in the battlefield. The beauty of integrated strategies is that it's always different every run. No two runs are the same, and it's always a new challenge every time you hit that start button. And this is one of the reasons why I think integrated strategies is quite popular among players. Remember, the goal here is to have fun. Be that facing new challenges or finding new strategies on the way, whatever you do, make it a fun challenge. If you don't find any enjoyment out of it, then you will not have a good time. That's all for this video. I will see you next time.